Hopefully as you watch this morning, you're feeling good. Everything about your life is just going great. But if you're watching and you're struggling with a little bit of back pain, get a little closer to the television because we're going to help you this morning. We have headed out to East Brainerd visiting with Doug Stidham at Disc Centers of America. Thanks for letting us come to your office for a change.
Oh, it's awesome to have you guys here.
I'm glad to be here, and I think it's important to begin our conversation by letting our viewers know that what you do here at Disc Centers of America is really pretty unique, certainly in Chattanooga, right?
I would say so. You know, there's a lot of chiropractors, there's a lot of orthopedists, but you know, I say we're unique in our protocols on how we help our patients with back pain and disc problems.
Okay, so it looks a little intimidating, I'm going to tell you, when we first came in, and I had the machines totally backwards. So you have these decompression beds, really, is what they are, right?
Yes. So the tables are the DRX 9000. That's the technology we utilize. It's the state of the art. And honestly, I have two tables currently, and I bought them a year apart. And the second table is even getting better as far as like how that works. Everybody wants to be on that table, right? But they're both getting great results. But it's one of those things where they have maximized how to get the patient to relax.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, if you had a back problem, and especially a disc problem, the muscles come in and get really tight, and it's really hard to move. So we're kind of fighting those symptoms of tight muscles in order to decompress a disc. So they have created a way to get the patient on and off the table comfortably, get them to relax, even like with some scenery they can look at, like an island scenery, like beach. And some music. We can put headphones on them, and just anything we can do to get them to fully relax and let the machine do its job.
Okay, so it's not just anybody who walks in the door here is going to be a candidate. Let's talk about who is best suited for these machines.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of people that come in that hear about the technology and they want to get on the table. And after we do an exam or look at an x-ray or even an MRI, sometimes we determine that it might not be necessary, you know, and sometimes just good old-fashioned adjustments in chiropractic would be enough.
Right.
But the people that want to get on the table, or that we recommend get on the table, are the ones like my parents. My parents were both disc patients, and they suffered. I mean, it was bad. So these are people that don't just have back pain, but they've graduated to another level. Like they have a toothache that's gone from their back into their butt,
right?
Like right in their glute,
right?
And sometimes that pain can go down the leg. It can go to a very specific toe. All things that give us a good clue on which disc we're dealing with.
Okay, you gave me an example of if you're a person who, when you get up, if it takes you a while to straighten, you said right away that's a bulging disc.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a candidate for decompression because I know that that's me. If I go on a long road trip where I'm sitting for like 2-3 hours, when I get out of my truck, it takes me a minute. I can stand up and walk, but it takes me a minute before I'm fully able to extend.
Okay, so the table is going to help with a bulging disc, right?
Yes.
What else will it help with?
A herniated disc.
Is that what causes the pain down your leg?
It is. It is. So a bulge generally will just cause some tension, some tightness, some mild discomfort that doesn't go away. You know, it's like, hey, it usually goes away. This doesn't go away. A herniation is when that liquid inside there, I used this before, but is when it breaks through, and now that fluid created a pocket that's pushing directly on that nerve root. Once we get that, now we're in another level. So that's a herniation.
And then the other is if it's degenerative, right?
Advanced degeneration, yes. Okay. So it's more of a chronic condition. They've been dealing with it for a long, long time.
So let's go with your bulging idea. And here you are, you're a healthy guy, but you get out of your truck and you've got that pain. If you begin the decompression early, will it prevent future problems?
Yeah, you can keep it from getting herniated. So if you looked at the anatomy on these, it looks like tree rings, right? Little rings of cartilage. When you get older, you get more sedentary, and those dry up, and they can crack and break through, and that fluid will actually come out, and that's what pushes through. So if you just get a little bit of a bulge where it's like starting to do a minor, you could avoid that process. It's kind of like looking at someone who has bald tires.
Yeah.
Like you need to get that tire fixed before it blows and you have an accident.
Right.
Right? Because once you have an accident, then now we're looking at surgery, fusions, that kind of thing.
Okay, so you know, sometimes too, especially with back pain, it reaches a point where people say, I can't take this anymore. But somehow until that point, we find a way to suffer through.
Yeah.
So some people might not even have seen a doctor as they're watching you today. Did they need to have any imaging to bring to you, or does it matter?
Yeah, I recommend if you're a patient who, hey, you've gotten to that point where it's like, hey, it's moved from my back to my glute, and it's kind of in my hamstring and maybe in my calf, you need an MRI. It would benefit you to have an MRI.
Okay, so back to what makes it unique. You talked about your protocol being unique in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, it's a very systemized program that's within the technology. So the way it relaxes, the way the motorized computer works, it does this. It's a big, expensive math problem is what it is, and they figured all that out. The angle of the pull is determined by which disc we're having a problem with, which is why an MRI would be good, because not everybody's spine has read our textbooks, right?
Right.
So sometimes it can be a little bit different, but if I can see on paper or even on a video screen the actual bulge and where we're seeing actual pressure on a nerve root, then I can explain that to the patient.
Are there any age restrictions, like a certain age you have to be or can't be over?
No, not really. We don't see a lot of younger patients on there unless there's like a car accident, a bad car accident, a bad trauma. We're not opposed to doing decompression on like a teenager if they needed it, but usually they're vibrant.
They're fine.
Yeah, they're usually vibrant. It's usually more the 30s, 40s, 50s.
If you have arthritis, is it helpful?
Yes, if you have arthritis in the back, like if you have those joints in your spine that have started to get arthritic, like you said, like if we're starting to see decreased disc height, so more like the difference between this and this, right? Because these discs aren't being nourished. Like it's the movement of the bones that will hydrate the disc.
So do medicines dry out your discs at all?
I know caffeine does, because it
Really?
it dehydrates you. Anything that pulls water out of your body can improve this. I'll tell you one thing, smoking is probably the worst thing for discs. So people that smoke cigarettes, if anybody has a disc problem and they're a smoker, I tell them, you're not a smoker anymore, you're gonna have to quit that.
Right.
So
So stay hydrated, drink a lot of water. If you take medications that are drying out things like antihistamines, would that be a concern?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's
Okay.
a lot of machine. Anytime you take a medication that gives you cotton mouth, that's pulling water. That's definitely dehydrating you.
Okay, when they come to see you, each person's outcome, I guess, or their protocol will be different depending on their need.
Yep.
But typically, if it's a herniated disc, how often will they come?
Yeah, honestly, it depends a lot on their schedule. Best case scenario, I would love to see them 3 to 4 times a week in the beginning, and then we can decrease that. But it's pretty much you follow that protocol, you have a 91% chance of success.
Wow.
I think surgery's at 20 or 30 now.
91% chance of success.
Yeah.
And you feel good while you're going through the treatment. I bet people don't want to get off the table.
They don't. They're like, this is the best 16 minutes of my day.
Doug, thanks for letting us come.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it.
We're going to have another conversation in the weeks to come because it is football season. Kids are out there on the field, even though he mentions they don't see a lot of younger people. When those injuries happen, you want a good place to go. So here's his number. It's Disc Centers of America. Phone number and website there on your screen. And are you open on the weekends?
No, not yet.
Monday through Friday. Schedule 16 minutes. That's all it takes once you're in the system.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.